our service on page 24 of our Sidurims, page 24 of our Sidurims, with Shalom Aleichem. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharei, Malachei El Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Bolechem L'Shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei El Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu Ni L'Shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei El Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Seichem L'Shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei El Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Laura, would you like to light our Shabbos candles for today?
Sure.
I switched it up tonight.
Come on.
Might be running out of fluid.
Yeah, I wonder.
I can do it.
No, I usually can do it.
Oh, okay.
That's the thing. Oh, there we go.
Like 2 weeks.
You don't have any Flint?
Flint, no. Look, this one went out.
Other one too.
No, it's coming
it's
back.
coming back.
It's like those messed up
Coming
birthday
back.
candles.
Yeah.
All right. Come let us welcome Shabbat.
May its radiance illuminate our hearts.
Light is the symbol of the divine.
The eternal is my light and my salvation.
Light is the symbol of the divine within us.
The human spirit is the light of the eternal.
Light is a symbol of the divine law.
For the mitzvah is a lamp and the Torah a light.
Light is a symbol of Israel's mission.
I, the eternal, have made you a covenant people, a light to the nations.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Amen.
May the Eternal bless us with Shabbat joy.
Amen.
May the Eternal bless us with Shabbat peace.
Amen.
May the Eternal bless us with Shabbat holiness.
Amen.
Shkoyach.
We continue our service on page 27 with L'chai Doidi. L'chai Doidi likraka la yadadai 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 b'nei Shabbat nekabela. L'chai Doidi likraka la yadadai 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 b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Shamor b'zachor b'dibor echad Hishmi'anu el chanuchad Adonai echad u'shemo echad L'shem ol tiferet v'litiba L'chai doidi likraka la yadadai 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 b'nei Shabbat Nikabela L'chai doidi likraka la yadadai 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 b'nei Shabbat Nikabela likra Shabbat lehu v'nelcha ki hi mekor ha'bracha merosh mikedem nesuka sof ma'asa v'maksha tehila l'chai doidi likraka la yadadai 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 b'nei Shabbat Nikabela l'chai doidi likraka la yadadai 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 b'nei Shabbat Nikabela hi-ori kiva orech umi-ori Ori shir daberi kavod Adonai alai nigila l'chai doidi likraka la yadadai 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 b'nei Shabbat Nikabela l'chai doidi likraka la yadadai 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 b'nei Shabbat Now we face the entrance or exit of our building as we welcome in the Shabbos bride. Boi v'shalom aseret ba'ala gam b'simcha u'v'tzolach toch emunei am segula boi kala alechai godi ligraka la yadai b'nei Shabbat Nikabela alechai godi ligraka la yadai b'nei Shabbat Nikabela. We're going to continue on page 29 of our Sidurims, the Chatzi Kaddish, where we face the Ark at this time. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei rabba v'yamad yibrach yiratei v'yamlech malchutei v'chayechon u'v'yoymechon u'chayetechol be'Yisrael Ba'agala u'bizman kariv v'yemeru amen Yehesh mei rabba mivorach ve'olam olam me'almaya yitbarach Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitba'ar v'yitraman v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalam shemei kudashal karehu le'ela mikol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata damiran v'alma v'yemeru amen. Page 30, we join together for the Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMivorach Baruch Adonai HaMivorach Le'olam Va'ed Baruch Adonai HaMivorach Le'olam Va'ed. Page 31. Eternal God, your majesty is proclaimed by the marvels of earth and sky. Sun, moon, and stars testify to your power and wisdom. Day follows day in endless succession, and the years vanish, but your sovereignty endures. Though all things pass, don't let your glory depart from us. Help us to become co-workers with you and endow our fleeting days with abiding word. Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'ma'ariv Baravim. Blessed are you, O Eternal, who brings on the evening. Page 32, we join together at the bottom of the page. With eternal love, you have loved your people, the house of Israel. Torah and commandments, statutes, and judgments you taught us. Therefore, O eternal our God, when we lie down and when we rise up, we will discuss your statutes and rejoice in the words of your Torah and your commandments forever. For they are our lives and they lengthen our days, and we will meditate upon them day and night. May you never remove your love from us forever and ever. Blessed are you, O eternal, who loves God's people, Israel. Page 33, we join together for the Shema. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kivod Malchuto, Leolam Va'ed. You may be seated for the V'ahavta on page 34. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha, b'chol levacha, u'b'chol nafshecha, u'b'chol me'otecha, Ve'ayu adivarim ha'ele, asher anochi mitzavecha, hayom alvavecha, vishnatan levanecha, v'dibarta bam, v'shitecha b'veitecha, u'v'letecha b'derech, u'shachlecha u'komecha, u'kshartam liot al yadecha, ve'ayu lototafot b'nenecha, Uptatam al mizusot beitecha ubisharecha leman tizkeru v'asiten echo mitzvotai beitem kedoshim lelechem ani Adonai Elohechem asher chotzeiti etchem yeretz Mitzrayim liot lachem Elohim ani Adonai Elohechem Adonai Elohechem. Page 35. Eternal truth is that you alone are God and there is none else.
May the
righteous of all nations rejoice in your love and exult in your justice.
Let them beat their swords into plowshares.
Let them beat their spears into pruning hooks.
Let nation not lift up sword against nation, let them study war no more.
You shall not hate another in your heart, you shall love your neighbor as yourself.
Let the stranger be in your midst, you as a native, for you were once strangers in the land of Egypt.
From the
From the house of bondage we went forth to freedom, so that all be free to sing with joy.
Page 36, we join together from Mi Chamocha. Mi Chamocha, Ba'alim Adonai. Mi Chamocha, Nedar by Kodesh, Nora Teilot, Oisei Fele. Machutecha Ruvanecha, Bokeyam Lifnei Moshe. Ze Eli Anu V'Amru, Adonai Yiloch Le'olam Va'ed. V'ne'emar ki Adonai et Yaakov, U'gelamar Hazak Mimenu, Baruch Atah Adonai, Ka'al Yisrael. Page 37. Close us, O eternal our God, to lie down in peace and to awaken us each morning, to life renewed with strength. Spread over us the holy shelter of your peace. Together.
Help us to order our lives by your counsel and lead us in the paths of righteousness. Be a shield about us, protecting us from heat and war, from pestilence and sorrow.
Curb also within us the inclinations to evil, and shelter us beneath the shadow of your wings. Guard our going out and our coming into life, with peace from this time forth and forever.
Blessed are you, O Eternal, whose holy shelter of peace is spread over us, over all God's people Israel, and over Jerusalem.
Page 38, we join together for Vishamru. Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat. Lasot et ha-Shabbat le'doretan berit olam. Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat. Lasot et ha-Shabbat le'doretan berit olam. B'nei u'bein b'nei Yisrael, oti le'olam, oti le'olam, oti le'olam. Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat. Lasot et ha-Shabbat le'doretan berit olam. Ki she'et yamim asa Adonai et ha-shamayim v'et ha'aretz. Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat. Lasot et ha-Shabbat le'doretan berit olam. U'bayom hashvi'i Shabbat v'inafash, Shabbat v'inafash, Shabbat v'inafash. Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat. Lasot et ha-Shabbat le'doretan berit olam. Page 39, we rise for the Amidah prayer. Adonai sepetai tiftach ufi yagi tehilatecha. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu Elohei Abraham Elohei Yitzhak Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel Elohei Leah Ha'el Hagadol Ha'gibor V'Hanora El Elyon Gomel Chasadim Tovim Bekonei Hakol V'zocher Chasdei Avot V'imot Umevi Geula Lifnei B'nechem Leman Shemo B'Ahava Melech Ozer U'Moshiach U'Magen Baruch Atah Adonai Magen Abraham V'Ezrat Sarah Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai Mechayei HaKol Atara Lehoshia Mashiva Ruach Marit HaGeshem Mekalkel Chayim Bechesed Mechayei HaKol Berachamim Rabim Somech Noflim V'Rofech Olim Umatzir Asurim Umekayem Emunato Lishenei Afar Michamocha Ba'al Givurot Umidom Melach Melech Memit Umechayeh Umatzmiach Yeshua V'ne'eman Atah Lechachayot HaKol Baruch Atah Adonai Mechayeh HaKol Atah Kadosh V'Shim HaKadosh U'Koshim B'chol Yom Yahallelu Chasela Baruch Atah Adonai Ha'el HaKadosh We daven silently until page 47, where we will join together for Aseh Shalom. After you've completed davening, you may be seated. We join together on page 47 for Aseh Shalom. Oseh Shalom Bimramav, Hu Yaseh Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael, Ve'imru, Amen. Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael. Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael. Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael. V'emeru, Amen. So, good Shabbos, everyone. We're at Parshat Teruma now. Parshat Teruma begins with one of the most stirring indications of our entire Torah. We read in Hebrew, Vayichu li teruma. Translated into English, this means, and let me take for them an offering, and from every person whose heart moves them shall take my offering as well. God does not command a tax in this week's Torah portion. God does not impose a levy. God asks for gifts to be given from the heart, the Mishkan, the sacred space in which the divine presence will dwell. But it is built not through coercion, it is built through generosity, through partnership, through a collective generosity, an act of responsibility. A partnership through collective acts. The Mishkan is not constructed also by a single leader, not by Moses, not by Aaron. It is built by a group of people. And that is perhaps the deepest message of this week's Torah portion. That holiness emerges when a society decides to build something together, biyachad, as we say in Hebrew. This week we can envision the Mishkan as a social vision. We often imagine the Mishkan as a beautiful architectural project, one of gold, acacia, wood, of fine linen, of precious stones. But the Torah, it is really not describing a building as such. It is describing a society more important. Every person brings something different to the table, whether it be gold or silver, wool or skins, wood or oil, skill or labor, vision or craftsmanship. The Mishkan becomes a sacred space precisely because it includes everyone at the table. It is a model of what a just and shared community looks like, a place where each person's contribution is recognized as essential. And this week, as I read Parshat Terumah, I could not stop thinking of my recent trip to Israel, specifically to a town village that is in the center of the country known as Rahat, and a visit with someone there named Chel Elbaz. Chel Elbaz is a longtime Bedouin social worker and civic leader in the Negev. Because what he is trying to build, and what he invited us to imagine with him upon visiting, is nothing less than a Mishkan for our own time. When I read the Torah portion of this week, I think back to my recent trip to Israel, to visiting Chel Elbaz, and a builder of a society. Chel Elbaz told us a story while we visited him. He grew up in a traditional Bedouin community, and he went on to study social work in Israel and as well in Canada. And then in the early 1990s, he came to the Negev to build something that had yet not existed: basic social services for his people. He spoke about the reality, and a reality that is very difficult for us to hear. Entire communities without infrastructure in Israel, unrecognized villages without adequate healthcare protection, a rapid transition from a traditional life to a modern economy, without support systems that every other developing population receives in the state of Israel. He described young people with enormous potential without pathways to the future, no clear access to education, to employment, or to leadership. And he warns us of what happens when a society leaves part of its population on the periphery and outside of the camp. What happens is poverty, crime, despair, extremism. Not because those young people are who they are, but because of what they've not been given by a society, one that they participate in. And then he said something that echoed our Torah portion of this week. The Bedouin are not outsiders. They are Israeli citizens. They vote, they serve, they work as doctors in Israeli hospitals. They are part of the fabric of the state of Israel. They are already bringing their gifts to the Mishkan that we have at the state of Israel. The question is whether the rest of the society recognizes those gifts and builds with them to the state of Israel. He spoke about many things when he visited us, but one thing that stuck out in particular was his discussion about October 7th. He spoke about the murder of a close friend named Vivian Silver, a lifelong builder of Arab-Jewish relations and partnerships. And he spoke about Bedouin citizens who risked, many of them, their lives, and some who lost their lives, rescuing Israelis on October 7th. These were acts of terumah for a community, offering with their heart and with the highest order. And yet, at the same time, he described how the war exposed painful gaps. Entire Bedouin communities without adequate emergency protection, non-governmental organizations stepping in to provide food and shelter where the state systems had failed and not reached. How can it be in Parshat Terumah, as it asks us, that some people's gold is accepted for the Mishkan and their safety is not? Chel Elbaz challenged us to move beyond the language of coexistence, which we are mostly familiar with. Coexistence means that you stay on your side and I stay on my side. And we still remain separate, yet peaceful. But the Mishkan, it is not built that way. The Mishkan, it was a shared project. Truly, a shared society means equal investments in education, leadership development for youth, and economic opportunities. Mutual responsibilities. It means understanding the future of resilience for Israel. The strength of an entire people depends on whether every part of our population is able to contribute to terumah, not as an act of charity, but as an act of nation building. Cher challenged us to see the young generation in ourselves as future builders. One of the most powerful moments in Rahat was when Cher spoke about the youth in particular. He did not speak with despair, he spoke with hope when discussing youth in particular. He told us about the growing number of Bedouin doctors serving in Israeli hospitals. He spoke about the enormous demographic reality of truth. A population, a youthful population, if invested in, could transform the Negev into a model of dignity and partnership between Israelis and Arab Israelis, Israeli Jews and Arab Israelis. In the language of this week's Torah portion, they have the acacia wood, they have the oil for the lamp, they have the artisans. What they need is for the rest of the community, the people, to say, Vayhu li teruma, as we started off our discussion for today. Let us build this together. The most famous verse of this week's parsha is the Asu li mishkan v'shachanti betocham. Make for me a sanctuary and I will dwell amongst them. Not in it, amongst them. God's presence does not dwell in buildings. God's presence dwells in the relationships we build around them, in the space between people who take responsibility for one another, in a society that refuses to leave some members outside of the camp. When we read this week's Torah portion, we are called to ask, what is our teruma? So the question of Parshat Teruma asks us this year is not, what did the Israelites bring, but what will we bring? What is our offering towards a shared community? What will we bring to our attention? Will it be our advocacy, our willingness to learn, our refusal to accept simplistic narratives around us, our commitment to investing in the next generation? All of this, all of the next generation, not part of the next generation, but all of the next generation. Because the Mishkan of our time is not made of gold or silver or wood. It is made of human dignity. It is made of human partnership. It is made of courage to believe that the divine presence rests where people find a future that is built together. Standing in Rahat, listening to Chal Elbaz, I realized that I was witnessing someone who spent most of his time, most of his life as a builder of a Mishkan. Not of fabric or of beams, but of social services, of educational pathways, of civic belonging. And in doing so, he's done exactly what our Torah asks of every generation, to take the raw materials of a fractured reality and shape them into a place where God can dwell. The call of Teruma today is not of that of a sanctuary, but for ourselves to build something holy, a society where everyone's gifts is needed, everyone's safety matters, everyone's future is bound up with everyone else's. And if we can do that, we can move to coexistence, from coexistence to a shared responsibility. Then, from the Negev to Israel, the rest of Israel, the Jewish people as well as Arab Israelis, our communities in and across the country, and a place we will create together of divine presence, where God dwells amongst us. Can you hear us suddenly and be God's will? Amen.
Amen.
Now, over the past couple of weeks, I've given some opportunity for thought. I'd like to ask if anyone would like to ask any questions at this time. Anyone? Think. Give you a moment to think.
Bravo.
Yes, go
What
ahead.
you basically discussed is what we have once had in this country, known as separate but equal. But equal separately is not equal. That's why under Brown versus Topeka versus under Topeka versus the Board of Education. All right, we found out in this country that we are all equal, and therefore we need to share equally. That is something that people are forgetting. They're creating more division, more hatred, instead of trying to figure out how do we live together.
Very good. So, does anyone have any questions though about like Rahat or the Bedouin community in Israel in particular?
It's the same thing. It's
So-
what happened in Selma or in Jacksonville or in Philadelphia, Mississippi.
Yeah. Do we have any questions about Rahat or the Bedouin community though specifically? About any of the community members? Okay.
I mean, is their community pretty separate from the, I know in Israel some areas are very, very Arab, while some are less
So it depends. So Rahat is mostly Bedouin Israelis, but then there's also areas in Beersheba, for instance, that have as well Bedouins that live there as well. The problem is the Bedouin don't live in registered communities, so
They're nomadic, right?
they were historically nomadic, and so they pack up and leave and move from one place to the next, and to the next, and to the next, and so they're not really sedentary. So you can't really say that historically they're living in this area or they're living in that area, and they don't want to necessarily give up that lifestyle.
What makes them then move on to the next area?
The depletion of resources in one place or another. So if the place has been exhausted of natural resources, if there's no longer water there, if there's no longer plants, if you can't subside and live on this area, you move to a new area, and then eventually you may come back to that original area after the resources there have returned.
But are they trying to stay in that area and then Israel's not providing water and schools?
So the way it works is that the Jewish National Fund, which we sometimes make donations to in different organizations, they are specifically geared to helping the Jewish communities in Israel, and that's what they will guarantee is safeguarding. And the bomb shelters and all of those wonderful endeavors that the Jewish National Fund contribute to go to those communities, but they don't go to those communities in Rahat, like the Bedouin communities. And your question is are they refusing to?
No, it's more of like, why aren't they getting those services?
Oh,
What can we
they're
do?
they're not getting those services because of two reasons. One is because a lot of those resources that are provided come from outside of the state of Israel, like Jewish National Fund. They provide for immigration services, they provide for bomb shelters, and they serve the Jewish community, and they come from the Jewish community outside of the land of Israel by far and large. There isn't a comparable organization that offers similar support to the Bedouin community in Israel. Had there been one, that would probably serve them very well, but it would be ideal if the Jewish National Fund, is according to like what I'm suggesting in my sermon, would be able to serve Klal Yisrael, all of Israel, not just Jewish Israelis, but also Arab Israelis. They aren't receiving a lot of the same services that Jewish Israelis receive. So when you immigrate to Israel, it's because of the law of return, you receive Sal Klita, which is something I received. It's an immigration basket. But if you live in Israel and you fall below a social service, you fall below a certain income level, social services may not be available to you in the same capacity as they are for Jewish Israelis, because Jewish Israelis receive those benefits as a result of a lot of organizations that come from outside Israel, including of which is the Jewish National Fund. And the Jewish National Fund does contribute to Sal Klita immigration benefits that are received in Israel. Is that clear? Go ahead.
Yeah, but I mean, if you're like third or fourth generation Israeli, so you're not getting immigrant benefits.
No.
And you're at the poverty level, who?
You do receive poverty benefits for that from the state.
government?
From the state, yeah, but a
They're
lot of
not giving them they're not providing the same services. that
well, Cher was arguing, or he was suggesting when we met with him, that Sal Klita and a lot of those immigration benefits are still offered to the Bedouin community, despite them living in Israel for many generations, because they didn't experience immigrating to Israel in the first place. So if they've already been in Israel, as every generation has immigrated, if you go back 3 generations, there was someone who received immigration benefits in coming to the country. That's also not just a Sal Klita, but that's also like if you were to buy a car, you get discounted rates. And it's an opportunity to put you on a bit of a pedestal in Israeli society, because when you arrive with nothing, and it gives you that opportunity to rise up. If you've been in Israel for many generations, like the Bedouin, and you're beginning to accept a sedentary lifestyle, you never received 3 generations ago or 2 generations ago that opportunity to step up. And his argument was they should receive that, which is a compelling argument, because every other group of Israelis upon arrival of Israel received a benefit, one or another, in immigration. It doesn't go through many generations though. It's not like if you immigrated to Israel 2 generations ago, you're entitled to those benefits. It's just the first generation, but they didn't receive the first generation. Once you would imagine they accept a sedentary lifestyle, it is in many ways accepting that you're an Israeli citizen and immigrating in some ways, in some regards, to a state. David, were you gonna ask something?
I guess I was a little disappointed in what you
Yeah.
told me.
Yeah.
You know, as we're all Americans, and we would expect that whether I live in New York, New Jersey, or Alabama, my kids would be able to get free public education. I would expect that. I would expect, regardless of where I live in New Jersey, that there would be police protection, a fire department, et cetera, those kind of services. And it sounds like in Israel, the Bedouin groups are not getting the same kind of services that the Jewish Israelis are getting.
Yeah,
And
so,
that's
yeah.
disturbing.
Yeah, and it isn't just because of the state resources, but it's also due in large part due to organizations like Jewish National Fund, which aren't contributing in those areas.
Okay.
Like bomb shelters, for instance, are non-existent in those areas.
Yes, but what about the Knesset? Do they not make decisions for all of Israel? And make decisions to benefit all of Israel?
Yeah, their responsibility is to the state of Israel, includes all of its citizens.
Right.
Unfortunately, the construction of a lot of, I keep on going back to the example of bomb shelters, isn't really within the purview of the Israeli government. That's really because that's all coming from international support. And that's unfortunate because there isn't any safety nets in place to protect the Bedouin community in receiving similar sorts of services. So, yeah.
But
Well, she was gonna ask and then I'll go to you.
Are there Bedouins outside of Israel?
Yeah, there are, not many though. Oh, you mean like that came from Israel to live elsewhere?
No, just
Yeah, there's many. There's Bedouins that live in Saudi Arabia, in Jordan, in Lebanon, all over the Middle East, Egypt too. Yes.
these Israelis who are migratory,
Yeah,
they're the ones who also serve in the military.
Many of them do, yeah.
With the Orthodox,
Yeah.
you know, it's like, you can pray and get, that someone won't
Exemption.
shoot me,
Uh-huh.
and you'll get shot.
Yeah.
While the Harib,
Uh-huh.
I believe that's how it's pronounced,
Mm-hmm.
the ultra, they do nothing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's
Bedouins
quite
serve
yeah,
too.
yeah. So it's quite ironic that they serve and they don't get many of the same services that the rest of the country do. So it was really nice meeting with him and learning a little bit about the Bedouin community. I think that it was, if anyone has any questions afterwards, when we have our kiddush, we can talk a little bit more about them. But it was, you know, I commented upon last week as well, was a Bedouin soldier who saved many of the Israeli lives on October 7th. I cited his name last week and talked a lot about the circumstance, about what he did. Saved life after life after life of Jewish Israelis who were at the Nova Site Festival. And as I pointed out then, he was not Jewish, he's Bedouin Israeli, he's Muslim, but he did so out of being a good person. And I think that Israel owes, and we owe, a debt of gratitude to the communities that participate in building a Mishkan for Klal Yisrael. And that isn't just people in Israel who are Jewish, that is also people who are Bedouin. And in their words, they would much rather and want to be part of Israel. They don't want to be a part of another state, no other country. They want to be part of a Jewish Israel, Jewish state of Israel. Okay, so we're going to turn to the Misha Barak prayer now, found in our Siddur Reams. In just a moment, I'll be reciting names from our Misha Barak list, and after the names have been read aloud, I'd like to ask if anyone would like to add any names to the list. Today's list includes the following names: Primo Riccio, Asher Ephraim, Kami Zabadik, Evelyn Levy, Courtney Zabadik, Austin Volk, Jerome Doss, Alan Steinberg, Barbara Steinberg, Christy Simkoff, Gail Katz, Arlene Mann, Lucas Doss, Joanne Friedman, Susan Scholar, Seth Scholar, Daniel Kalin, Paula Davis, Perry Trekic. Are there any additional names that anyone would like to have added for today?
Dolly and Roger Bloomfield,
Dolly and Roger Bloomfield,
the Hockenberry family,
the Hockenberry family,
Frankie Barr,
Frankie Barr,
Deborah Callahan.
Deborah Callahan.
Joyce Pine,
Joyce Pine,
Lori Hanson,
Lori Hanson,
and Jennifer Sequella.
Jennifer Sequella,
Eric Waxmansky,
Eric Waxmansky,
and Michael Belmonte.
Michael Belmonte. Yes.
Gabriel Levesque,
Gabriel Levesque,
Rich Bernardo,
Rich Bernaldo,
Mike Costello,
Mike Costello,
Jack Osher,
Jack Osher,
John Riggs.
John Riggs. Okay, we're going to join together for the Misha Barak prayer. Any additional names? Okay. Misha Barak Avoteinu Mekor Habrecha Le'imotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mishem Be'erach Imotenu Mekor Abrecha Le'avotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shalema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. We rise for the Aleinu on page 49. Aleinu l'shabeach ladon hakol lateit v'dula liotzer breshit shelo asana kidei aratzot v'lo samanu kimishbechot ha'adamah shelo sam kalkenu kachen v'gor aleinu kifo hamonam v'anachnu korim u'mishtachavim u'moidim lifnei melech malchei hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu she'onetei shamayim v'yoser haaretz u'moshiv yekaro b'shamayim ima'al l'shchinatu zo b'govei neroimim hu Eloheinu ein od emet malkeinu efesu lato Kagatu b'torato v'yadatayom v'hoshivota ela bebecha ki Adonai hu Elohim v'shamayim mima'al v'al haaretz mitachad ein od. Page 50. We therefore hope in you, O eternal our God, soon to behold the splendor of your might. Then will false gods vanish from the earth, and the idols will be utterly cut off, to heal the world of the sovereignty of the Almighty. Then will all acclaim you as your God, and forsaking evil turn to you alone. Let all who dwell on earth acknowledge that to you every knee must bend, and every tongue swear loyalty. Before you, O eternal our God, let them humble themselves to your glorious name, let them give honor. Let all accept the yoke of your dominion, and you rule over them soon and forever. The dominion is yours, and you will rule in glory, as it is written, the eternal will reign forever and ever. V'ne'emar v'haya Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz bayom hahu yihyeh Adonai echad u'shemo echad. We join together the Mourner's Kaddish on page 52. In just a moment, I'll be reciting names from our Yahrzeit list, as well as members of our community who have recently passed. After the names have been read aloud, if you are observing the Yahrzeit or in the period of Shoshim, please share with us their names so that we as one community may pray for the elevation of their neshama to Shemayim above. Today's Yahrzeit list includes the following names: Morris Cohen, Simeon Barron, Benjamin Ginsburg, Stanford Libros, Walter Miller, Bertha Rychek, Bernice Razinowitz, Craig Badality, Ann Bruce, Lucille Frederick, Dick Kazin, Solomon Namias, Harvey Marcus, Harry Rothberg, Max Scholar, Louis Bodock, Marge Francisco, Martin Schwartz, Esther Spielberg, Harold Razinowitz, Toby Rozowski, Leonard Suslowitz, Madeline Schwartz, Edward Sheff. Recently passed from our community are the following names: Marissa Kosky, Evelyn North, Betty Martin, Lenny Popper, Fred Mushkel, Jeffrey Milstein, Phil Garfinkel, Evelyn Sheff, Shoshana Ilana Bactavora, Eli Oster, Roy Smith, Faith Small, Elaine Gordon, Ruth Topol, Alan Netterman, Regina Pasternak, Ruth Dawes, John Hockenberry III, Beth Lazarowski, Frida Mizrahi, Joan Friedman, Ricky Tripp. Are there any additional names for today? Yes.
April Dolch.
April Dolch.
Marianne Malka,
Marianne Malka,
Judy Hammer,
Judy Hammer,
Nora Montoya,
Nora Montoya,
and Philomena Cotillo.
Philomena Cotillo. Yes.
Lois Moravsky.
Lois Moravsky. Yes.
Linda Adams.
Linda Adams,
Bob Levinson,
Bob Levinson,
Julie Marks,
Julie Marks,
Mayor Richard Pucci,
Mayor Richard Pucci,
Sal Laurie.
Sal Laurie. We join together for the Mourner's Kaddish. Please rise if it is your custom. Yiskadal v'yiskadash shemei Rabbah, v'alma divrach v'yosei v'yamlich machsei, v'chayachon v'yamechon v'chayei l'chol beis Yisrael, v'gava v'zman kari v'yimru amen, yehei shmei Rabbah mevorach l'olam amen amaya, yisparach v'yishtabach v'yispa'ar v'yisraman v'yisnasei, v'yisadar v'yisalel v'yisalal shemei l'kudashah b'rechu, La'ela min kol birchasa v'shirasa tushbechasa v'nechamasa damiran v'alma v'yimru amen. Yehei shlam ha'rabbanim shamaya v'chaim aleinu v'yokol Yisrael v'yimru amen. Oiseh shalom mirama v'yaseh shalom aleinu v'yokol Yisrael v'yimru amen. May the source of peace and peace to all who mourn and comfort all who are bereaved, and let us say, Amen. You may be seated. We now have an opportunity for our announcements.
Have a good time.
Enjoy.
Next Torah reading service will be on February 14th.
No.
That's what it says. Is there a
Did
new
you
one?
not put a fresh seat up there?
No.
Alright, well, let me read it off the phone. Because that's old.
February 14th.
Talk to Lisa. I'm like, that's not right. Tomorrow is Torah reading service, which is February 21st. So services, Torah study will be at 10 and service will start at 10:30. Sunday is the last day to order porn baskets. If you haven't joined Esther's Entourage, or if you just wanted to order a few, please do so by Sunday. We are, as Liz knows, rehearsing very hard for our Purim spiel. Purim is on Monday, March 2nd at 6:30. It's a vegetarian, dairy potluck dinner. I'll be here with music. Some adults, very brave adults, are putting on a Purim spiel. Should be fun. We've been rehearsing. And cocktails and mocktails. Pam's creation. So please come. Please RSVP though. There's no charge, but we need to know how many seats to set up for the tables. K-3 is leading services, participating in services and leading a parsha play, and strumming for Shabbat on March 6th. And I actually think we have strumming for Shabbat on February 27th, but it's not in the weekly for some reason.
Is that the one with the extra cantor?
No,
That's in April.
that's in April.
Yeah.
We're doing Refugee Shabbat on March 13th with a guest speaker. Brad Cohen is going to speak about refugee resettlement in our area and our connection to Israel. And then on March 22nd, Daniel Lapidow, Hebrew Hammer Blacksmith, will be talking about Jews and the trades. And there'll be lots more stuff in the weekly now that I had our ritual meeting with the rabbi.
Thank you.
Wait, when is
Sister,
Circle of Friends?
Circle of Friends,
Well, March.
10th or something.
March 10th.
Yeah.
We're gonna see a movie called Liberty Heights, which is a movie that takes place in 1954, and it talks about racism and anti-Semitism through the lens of a Jewish family.
Thank you. All right, we're going to conclude our service with the Donah Lum on page 53, and I'm very excited to introduce something. So at the very back of our sanctuary, our Beit Knesset, we have now something, a new addition. We have every couple of weeks something that's new and exciting. We have our piano. Of course, you all notice that there is a new setup of the chairs. We're going to take a poll maybe in the congregation and get it very complicated and ask, what do you like the most? I'm joking, we won't do that. But we have in the very back, what? We have in the very back though, a chet. And I say a chet because when you're all, you all aren't, but if you are to be drafted into the IDF, the first thing that you do is you have to form into a chet when you're in your tzevet, okay? When you're in your battalions and in your regiments and all of your different formations, you're always going to be in a formation of a chet. And anyone want to guess as to why, if you look behind you? The projection is the best if you are in a chet. So in the spirit of the IDF, and in the spirit of the precision of military, we're going to be joining at the very back of our sanctuary after we've completed our service, so we can all hear one another in a U-shaped chet. It's also referring to the Hebrew alphabetical letter, so I hope you all remember the structure of the chet. All right, so we're going to conclude our service with Adon Olam on page 53. Adon Olam Asher Malach B'terem kol yitzir nivra li'et nasa v'chezo kol azay melech shemo nikra li'achai grei kilot hakol levado yimok nora v'hu haya v'hu hoveh v'hu yiyeh v'tifara v'hu echad v'ein sheni L'hamshilo l'chachbira, b'li reishit, b'li tachlit, b'lo ha'oz v'ha'nizra, v'chu eli v'chegoali, v'tzor chevli v'yesara, v'hu nisi umanosli, menat kosi b'yom ekra, v'ya'ado afkid ruchi, v'yetishan v'ya'ira, Ve'im ruchi geviyati, Adonai li velo ira. Good Shabbos, everyone. Shabbat Shalom. We're going to join as well at the very back of our sanctuary at our chet. Good Shabbos.